Eli Tomac spent the last decade building one of the most dominant runs in Supercross history on Yamaha. Two 450SX titles, a 250SX East Crown, multiple outdoor championships, and a bike dialed so deep it became an extension of his riding style. Then he walked away from it. Not because Yamaha stopped working, but because at 32 years old, with nothing left to prove, he chose the harder path. KTM offered him a challenge. And for a rider like Tomac, that might be the only thing left that still fires him up. The Yamaha YZ450F became Tomac's signature weapon. That chassis geometry, the linear power delivery, the Kayaba spring fork and shock setup, he spent years fine-tuning every clicker, every mapping tweak, every rider triangle setup to match his aggressive pin-it and hang-on style. Tomac rides forward, attacks whoops with throttle instead of finesse. The coil spring suspension gave him consistent, predictable feedback lap after lap, and the rearward weight bias let him drive hard out of corners without the front end pushing. He knew exactly where the front end would bite, exactly how hard he could break into a berm, exactly when the rear would hook or slide. That kind of trust takes years to build, and it's the foundation of championship-level confidence. It's why you saw him stuffing block passes in the late stages of mains when everyone else was survival mode. The bike did exactly what he expected, every single time. Walking away from that means throwing out the entire playbook. KTM's platform is fundamentally different. The WP XACT air fork and shock operate on air pressure and nitrogen charge instead of coil springs. Adjustment happens in increments of PSI, not clicks, and the feel changes based on ambient temp and altitude. That's not necessarily worse, but it is different. The chassis rake and trail numbers put more weight on the front end than Yamaha's setup, which gives sharper turn-in but demands more precise throttle and body positioning to keep the rear planted. The engine character is snappier off the bottom, more aggressive through the mid, which sounds good on paper until you realize Tomac's riding style was built around Yamaha's smoother, more controllable pull that let him modulate traction through choppy sections without upsetting the chassis. KTM's motor hits harder, and that means different clutch timing, different brake points, different body English in the same corners he's been railing for years. He's not just learning a new bike, he's rewiring muscle memory built over thousands of laps. The ergonomic shift matters more than casual fans realize. Yamaha's cockpit is wide, the bars are positioned further forward, and the seat-to-peg relationship encourages an upright attack position. KTM's is narrower, more compact, which suits riders who move around a lot and use the bike like a pivot point. Tomac's style has always been plant and drive, not flick and flow. That means he'll either need to adapt his technique or push KTM's crew to modify the bike's ergos to fit him. Every practice session, every qualifying lap, he's making micro adjustments that used to be automatic. And while he's doing that, guys like Jet Lawrence and Chase Sexton are running their proven setups, stacking data, and building confidence. Then there's the mental reset. At 32, most riders are protecting what they've already built, not gambling it. Tomac's not chasing his first title or trying to prove he belongs. He's already cemented as one of the all-time greats. But that also means every stumble on KTM gets magnified. If he struggles early, the narrative writes itself. Veteran rider can't adapt, made the wrong call, should have stayed loyal to Yamaha. That pressure is different than the hunger of a young rider with nothing to lose. A rookie on a new bike gets patience. A two-time champion gets scrutiny. Tomac has to rebuild confidence in the bike while managing expectations that come with his name. And he has to do it in public, every Saturday night, against the fastest generation of riders the sport has ever seen. One bad start, one weird crash, one race where the setup isn't there, and the whispers start. That's the tax on being elite this late in a career. But here's the leverage Tomac brings to KTM that no young rider can: data, feedback, and championship-caliber racecraft. KTM's 450 program has been fast but inconsistent in Supercross. They've won races, put riders on podiums, shown flashes of brilliance, but they haven't won a Premier Class title. Since Ryan Dungey's dominance ended, Marvin Musquin was close. Cooper Webb delivered outdoors, but the SX crown has stayed just out of reach. Tomac gives them a baseline no test rider can replicate. When he says the rear end is loose through rhythm, KTM engineers know it's not technique, it's setup. When he pushes for a softer initial stroke in the fork or a different linkage curve, they know it's not preference, it's what works at championship pace. That feedback loop accelerates development faster than any number of off-season test sessions with privateers or mid-pack factory guys. Tomac has the credibility to demand changes, the experience to articulate exactly what's wrong, and the speed to validate whether the fix actually works under race conditions. And KTM listens differently than most manufacturers. Yamaha's development cycle is methodical, patient, built on incremental improvements and long-term data collection. That's great for stability, but it also means changes happen slowly. KTM operates on a faster timeline. They're not afraid to overhaul a chassis mid-season, ship new parts from Austria between rounds, or test radical solutions that other brands would wait until next model year to implement. For a rider like Tomac, who knows exactly what he needs and doesn't want to wait 2 years for it, that responsiveness matters. If he says the bike needs more rear grip and flat corners, KTM can have 3 different linkage options at the next test. If he wants a completely different mapping strategy, they'll build it overnight. That kind of agility gives him a real chance to dial the bike in before the championship slips away. The contract side matters too. Yamaha's factory structure is tight, methodical, and built around long-term relationships. It rewards loyalty, but doesn't always adapt fast to individual rider demands. You ride the bike Yamaha gives you. You work with the team Yamaha assigns, and you trust the process. That works great when you're winning, but Tomac might have hit a ceiling. He'd already won everything Yamaha had to offer, and the team around him, while elite, was focused on developing younger talent and managing a multi-rider program. KTM operates differently. They move quick, spend big when they want someone, and they're not afraid to rebuild an entire program around the right rider. Tomac likely saw an opportunity to shape a team instead of just riding for one. That autonomy, picking crew, influencing bike development, having direct access to Austria's engineering team instead of filtering requests through US team managers might have been the difference. It's not just about money or bikes or logo patches on the jersey, it's about control. It's about having the final say on setup decisions, suspension testing, and race strategy. At this stage of his career, Tomac doesn't need a team to tell him what to do. He needs a team that listens. For KTM, this is about credibility. They dominate off-road. They win GPs. They've owned GNCC, hare scrambles, and European motocross for years. But in American Supercross, they've been the bridesmaid, fast enough to win on a good night, but not consistent enough to lock down a title. Signing Tomac sends a message to every rider, team manager, and sponsor in the paddock. KTM is serious about SX, and they're willing to build around the best. If Tomac wins even one more title on Orange, it justifies the entire program. It proves the bike works at the highest level. It validates their engineering direction, and it becomes a recruiting tool for the next generation of riders looking at factory contracts. If a guy like Tomac, who had zero reason to leave Yamaha, chose KTM, that tells every up-and-coming 250 rider that the Orange bike is a legitimate championship option, not just a stepping stone. But it's also a calculated risk for KTM. If Tomac struggles, if the adjustment takes too long, if injuries or bad starts derail momentum early, this move becomes a talking point for all the wrong reasons. It becomes proof that you can't just plug in a champion and expect results, that bike rider synergy matters more than individual talent, that switching brands late in a career is a fool's errand. That narrative would hurt KTM's Supercross credibility for years, so they can't just sign Tomac and hope it works. They have to give him everything, which means budget, personnel, testing time, and the patience to let him build the bike his way, even if it takes half a season. That's a big organizational commitment, and it only pays off if he delivers. The risk is real. If the bike doesn't suit him, if the adjustment takes too long, if injuries or bad starts derail momentum early, this move becomes a cautionary tale instead of a legacy builder. Tomac's career doesn't need another title to be complete. He's already a Hall of Famer, but that also means he's judged on a different standard. Anything less than podiums feels like failure. A fifth-place championship finish that would be career best for most riders becomes a disappointment for him, and if it goes sideways, the second-guessing starts immediately. Should have stayed on Yamaha, should have retired on top, should have known better than to gamble this late. But Tomac didn't get to where he is by playing it safe. He's made his career on high-risk passes, late race charges, and riding at a pace that makes other riders uncomfortable. Switching brands at 32 is just the same mentality off the track. He's betting on himself one more time, trusting that his skill set, work ethic, and pure speed can overcome the learning curve faster than age or adaptation slow him down. And whether it works or not, it's the kind of move that defines what separates legends from guys who just rode fast for a while. Legends take risks when they don't have to. They chase the challenge, not the safe money. Either way, Tomac on KTM is going to be very interesting to see. And here's the wildest part. The seat Tomac just vacated at Star Racing Yamaha did not stay empty. Deegan, the most hyped rookie in a decade, is stepping straight into the factory 450 ride. From YouTube sensation to 250 domination to the big bike everyone's been waiting for. Deegan's about to find out if the hype was real. Click up top to watch Hayden Deegan's 450 era begins, from viral star to factory monster explained. As always, subscribe to do not miss the next videos.